we live streamed from Mars. More on that in a minute. Earlier this year, we were approached by our client STEM Learning to help with a live stream aimed at school children across the country. We'd worked with them before on an event called Protecting Our Planet Day, which was hosted locally at the National Oceanography Centre in Southampton. For that project, we were broadcasting live from the Boaty McBoatface hangar, and the live stream involved live link-ups with researchers in Antarctica, on boats at sea, and in rainforests all over the world. We thought that was ambitious, but we weren't prepared for what came next. For this event, we were going to be live streaming from the Goonhilly Research Station in Cornwall, and at some point throughout the live stream, we would be showing an image of Mars that was captured that day, which, as I understand it, is as close to real time as human technology currently allows. For a project like this, planning was essential, and in the weeks ahead of the stream, we dedicated our time to putting together a tech plan and a running order for the show. The running order was relatively straightforward, as it simply takes the schedule for the day and details what's happening and where, with useful information visible for the crew. This event was made up of presenters doing interviews with virtual callers, an activity session with a visiting school, virtual panel sessions, and some pre-recorded VTs. In principle, it was fairly straightforward, but a live stream with lots of moving parts is never that simple. So a clear running order was essential to make sure that everyone knew exactly where they needed to be and what they needed to be doing at any given time. The other document we produced was our tech plan. This diagram lays out all of the equipment we were using and showed how it would connect together. In this case, we had several technical challenges to overcome. The first was that we had multiple studios within the research station at Goonhilly, the mission control room, a conference room, and the control tower, which had views of all of the antennas. This meant that we needed the equipment and infrastructure to run 3 studios with cameras, lights, a teleprompter, and talkback for both the camera team and the presenter. That's a lot of equipment. In addition to our physical studios, we also had virtual callers and virtual panel sessions to consider. These were taking place back to back, so we needed 2 systems, an A and a B, so that we could prepare the next set of callers while the previous ones were live on the stream. The last thing we wanted was for new callers to come in and interrupt the callers who were currently live, or for callers to be going live onto the stream without any checking in with our team beforehand. Because what would we have done if they'd not been there, or if their sound or video wasn't working properly? As you can see, there were lots of moving parts to consider, but because we'd put the time into the planning, we could be confident that when we finally arrived in Cornwall, we would have everything we needed to pull off the job. So after a few weeks of planning, March arrived, and it was time to head to Cornwall. Our team arrived at the office on Sunday afternoon to load up the van with all of our equipment, and our sound engineer, Brad, did an amazing job of Tetrising it all in.
Yes. Oh, that's really dissatisfying, isn't it? Like in the background as you were shutting the van, like, yeah, they're loading up other items into a car.
We failed.
We failed.
Then we hit the road for our 4-hour drive down to the West Country, after which we had dinner and headed to bed. The next day we arrived bright and early at Goonhilly and started setting up in the room we'd been given for our gallery. Our whole setup was centred around our Blackmagic ATEM 2ME Constellation fly pack, which was doing all of the vision mixing and audio embedding before the show hit the stream. For our studios, we used our 2 Blackmagic Ursa broadcast cameras and our Canon CRN 300 PTZ. One of the challenges we had was that we couldn't run any cables directly to the conference room, our 3rd studio. So we had to use the IP computer network within the building to bridge the room with our gallery. This isn't a standard way for professional audio and video equipment to interface together, but thankfully because we planned ahead, we had a professional solution using a combination of an ATEM streaming bridge, NDI and Dante to get our audio and video feeds to and from the gallery. For the virtual callers and the virtual panels, we decided to use Zoom as our backbone. Now you may be thinking, isn't Zoom something people use for their calls at work? And yes, that's partly why we chose it, because all of our guests would be familiar with how it worked when it came to joining the calls and sharing their screens. But as professionals, we have a few tricks up our sleeves to avoid it looking like we're simply showing a Zoom call. So for this project, we used 2 MacBook laptops running Zoom ISO, which is specialist software that gives us high quality feeds of each individual caller, as well as their screen share. This setup allowed us to take each caller individually into our vision mixing software vMix and repackage them in a custom branded layout. This was then sent to our ATEM vision mixer, which was controlling the show. Because the tech took longer to set up than the cameras, our camera teams used the afternoon to film some pre-recorded segments around Goonhilly with our presenters Dallas Campbell and Izzy Clark, who had arrived early to scope out the production. These clips were edited and turned around immediately so that we could use them in the show the next day. It was a great example of how our team are multi-skilled professionals. After a busy day, it was time to turn in and get ready for the main event. Show day was finally here and we were ready to go. We started our video encoders and began streaming to Vimeo, which we'd embedded on a custom microsite that we'd created before the event. We were also using Slido to manage audience Q&As and polls and had given our client access to moderate all of the messages that were coming in. All of the setup and testing from the day before paid off as the show went without a hitch. Dallas and Izzy were able to interview all of the virtual guests, including astronaut Tim Peake, who joined for a fantastic Q&A session. And finally, just before midday, we were joined by Simon Wood from ESA, who gave us what we were all looking forward to, an image of Mars captured earlier in the morning from the Mars Express. Which means I can officially say we live streamed an as close to real time as is humanly possible image of Mars. I can't wait to see how we beat that next time.